Hey guys, I'm Mandy from the Environmental Leadership Program that is running Marsh Quest, and my station is we are all in this together. All life in and around a wetland is interconnected in complex ways. When talking about living things, there are many different kinds of living things depending on what they eat. Some are producers who use the sun's energy, soil, and water to make their own food. Some are consumers who get their energy by eating plants or other animals. But there are different types of consumers. Some are herbivores that only eat plants. Others are carnivores that only eat animals. But there is also omnivores. Omnivores eat a little bit of both plants and animals. In my activity, we are going to be focusing on the food chain, which is a sequence of living things that gets their energy by eating other living things. Luckily, most animals feed on more than one type of living thing or plant, which creates more like a food web rather than a food chain. Food webs are complex relationships that include many different living things, but are put together at each different level of the food chain. A wetland is an ecosystem full of many different living things, but each living thing has its very own important role in the ecosystem. As you can see here, each ELP student here is pretending to be a living thing, and we as a group are going to demonstrate what will happen if one living thing dies and how it will affect the entire ecosystem. The sun is the main source of energy, which is utilized by the producer, the algae. The algae, which is then utilized by the omnivore, the mosquito. The mosquito is then utilized by the herbivore, the minnow, which is then utilized by the omnivore, the duck, which is then utilized by the carnivore, the bald eagle, which is then utilized by an insect you guys may all know of that bite you in the summer, the mosquito, which is then utilized by the carnivore, the frog, which is then also utilized by the carnivore, the snake, which is then utilized by the omnivore, the bass, which in return is then utilized by the eagle. So as you can see, all the living things created here created a stable ecosystem. So now that all living things created a stable ecosystem, the farm next to the marsh sprayed pesticides that has covered the top of the wetland, which water surface is needed for mosquitoes, so they begin to die off. The minnows then no longer need food, no longer have food, so then they die off. Ducks then have little food, so then they leave and go to another wetland. The bald eagle does the same and has no little food, so they fly off to another wetland as well. And then as you can see, it continues on and all of them begin to die off. Okay, as you can see in the demonstration here, if one plant or animal dies off, then it affects the entire ecosystem in some way. Now sadly, humans have destroyed about 80% of wetlands in southwestern Ontario, which is leaving all these living things with no place to live or to grow. Most people don't really understand how important wetlands are to all these insects, so when we destroy them, it really does not help them in any way. Thank you for listening, and I have an activity before you move on to the next station. Have a good day.